high impact journal. So I have a number. I think I have more. Yes, I have more, but I'm not able to show them all of them. Okay, this is the most selected publication from my research from Q1. This is Q1 journal. Okay, this is the first one. Okay, and this is the second one. So this is the most latest one, just published just I think a couple of months or last month. So it's been just recently published, so it did not have its issue and volume number. Okay, and this been published last year. Okay, first of all, this is all my papers. You can see this is my name. This is my name. Okay, this is the paper that I co-authored. This is my name. This is a professor. Luqman Tahir is a professor in our faculty. And this is also my paper. So this is not my student paper. This is all the research that I did by myself and with Dr. Nushila. So Dr. Nushila is my wife. So we work together to write all of this paper. So first of all, the first thing is that you have to understand what is actually the current development in your field of area. So first understand what is the recent development. After that, you will be able to understand what are the research gap. And from that research gap, then you will be able to formulate some kind of research that might be impactful. So the purpose of Q1s and Q2 papers is that to solve what are the issues that have been faced by the industry. So, or what is being faced by the agricultural sector. So is what's being impact is that when you have it, it's going to solve some problem, and the problem might be a very significant problem. Okay, this is the first paper to be shared today. So this is during the COVID-19. So during COVID-19, what the issues that students are learning online, or some of them are able to learn using hybrid mode. But the issue is that now that we have so many online learning environments at the time. So we have a lot of LMS and everything. But what are the acceptance of those systems? We don't call it as learning management system. We call it as technology enhanced learning. So it's technology enhanced learning, anything that related to technology that might enhance learning, either using computer, tablets, smartphones, metaverse, everything. So how it will perceived by the user, that's the issue during that time. So we've been forced to learn remotely with the understanding what is actually the preference or the acceptance of the user. So this is the main issue during that time. So why it is that I have one of the theory. One is the popular theory is that technology as a certain model. This is one of the most popular theory. However, this story has some of its weaknesses. So you have to understand what is actually the recent developments in your study. So you have, for example, even in the Viva room, this is a lot of issue where students they cite a lot about a paper from a very popular pioneer. For example, for example, a person that has been published the article in, for example, 2015. Then they are going to follow that paper throughout until the end of their study. So this is no issue with that. This might be a very impactful, what I call it, article. However, you have to understand what is actually the recent development. So that's a person might publish a lot of papers. After that, maybe he or she have another 50 or 60 paper after that popular paper. So you have to understand every single words of the pioneer in your field, so that you can understand what is actually the research gap. So first, understand what is the research gap. I also editorial board for a couple of Q1 WASP index paper. One by Springer Nature, another one by Nature. So this is the top, the top journals in our field. So when we first received your paper, we are looking at what is actually the novelty. Do the paper have anything to offer to the community, or to offer to what I call it, research committee, research community? So this is the first thing. Then, do the researcher really understand what is actually the recent developments in his or her field? So this is the thing that we're going to evaluate. And then we look at the article. The article can contribute something significantly to the body of knowledge, something that's really unknown before this. We are not looking at replication. We need to look at one brand new contributions to the body of knowledge, a very new and novel finding. Okay, this is the philosophy between in Q1 and 2 article. So that's very important for you to have to read all this Q1 and Q2 paper, especially related to your study, so you can understand what is actually the main issue, the main development behind it. Okay, after we have the issue, we understand what are the issue. So what are the weaknesses of existing theory, how we can amend that theory to make it better. So we can come up with a new theoretical framework. So for example, this is one of the theoretical framework that I had produced. Okay, so we combine two theory within TEM and SDT. And even in SDT, self-determination theory, most of the application educational technology is focusing toward competence, autonomy, and relatedness. So the three factors that always been focused in our field. However, if we look into the pure psychology perspective, they had what I call it, expand the theory to become better, to have more variables. So this is something that's lacking behind in our field. So that's why I combine these two theory, and then we're able to come up with a new theoretical framework. So two theories we combine together to have a theoretical framework. And the second thing is that after you identify what's the research gap, you also have to be very proficient with statistical analysis. So it should be for back Q1, Q2 journal, it should be a structural equation model. And you have to understand there are two types of structural equation model. This is covariant based and partial least square. So which one that you're going to use, and both have a different approach and different philosophy. So you have to understand that. This is the second step. And then the important thing is that you have what's the research gap. You understand what's the gap. So some had asked me how long it takes to understand the field and how long it takes to understand the research gap in our discipline. Okay, to be honest, it takes 7 years. For me, it takes 7 years for me to understand what is actually the gap, how the knowledge been, what I call it, expanded, how the knowledge been improved, and what is this recent trend. So after that, then I able to understand how the field will look like and how it's going to look like in the future. So first, understand the field, what are the research gaps. The second one, you must have a very strong statistical analysis. If you are using qualitative analysis, the analysis must be using, must be reporting, must be very robust, a very robust thematic analysis. It should involve iterator. It should have Cohen kappa value or Krippendorf kappa. So that's two things that we're looking at. So, and after that, it must have a good validity and reliability. So you have to validate and check the reliability of your instruments as well as the sampling. When you have the sample, normally some of the specific qualitative don't have any kind of sample, but for qualitative, the data must be saturated. So this is the thing that you have to achieve. And after that, we are looking at the measure. So what is measure? Measure is actually the instruments. So the quality of the instruments that you are using. how you get the instruments, you adopt it, Some you need to adapt, some you may freely adopt it without changing anything. So the quality of the instruments is playing a vital role. Either we will be able to successfully publish in Q1 journal or not. Okay, then you have to understand all the analysis that you did, and also you have to like correct. And what the thing again understands how the discipline, how the knowledge in your field has emerged. For example, during this time, a lot of people already use structural equation model. So at this moment, I'm using covariant-based structural equation model. However, this is a new approach where normally before this, for discriminant validity, other scholars are using Fauna-Lecker criterion to understand the discriminant validity. But however, the recent developments that we are going to use HTMT, heterotroid monotroids. So HTMT is a new way of understanding discriminant validity. So this is among our contributions, meaning that besides we are testing the theory, we are looking at how the theory been expanded, how it's going to become better if we try to amend it. Second, we also improve how the statistical analysis has been practiced. So one of the common examples that most of the studies are using Cronbach alpha. So I think even a lot of us are using Cronbach alpha as what we call it reliability. So for Cronbach alpha, it's not really a reliability. It's about consistency. So it's been misunderstood by scholar and not mispracticed. It been practiced not correctly by scholars, where Cronbach alphas is not measuring reliability. So to understand the reliability of your instrument or your study, you have to use construct reliability or composite reliability. That is the correct reliability. So if you're looking at high impact journal, they are no longer reporting Cronbach alpha. They're reporting their construct reliability and composite reliability. But there's still some practice reporting Cronbach alpha because it has been practiced before this. So you have to understand what is actually the latest developments, not only in your field, but in the analysis that you are using. So after that, we have to look at what is actually the contribution to the body of knowledge. So we have to understand after you have understood what is actually the research gap in your area, you will be able to come out with what are the weaknesses, what are the things that you're able to seal, and after that, test it thoroughly. You have to use also a very good measure, a very good instrument. And finally, you have to state or clearly understand what is actually the contribution of your study to your to the body of knowledge. Okay, this is basically for the first paper. And the second paper, this is paper been I co-authored with Prof. Lokman, one of professor in our field. And Prof. Lokman had identified that this is something missing or something like about stress and mental health among school principals. So meaning that research has been done a lot about this. However, what is the trend or the finding? So for example, you are looking at research gap. So what is research gap in your field? So our paper is that we are able to highlight what is actually the research gap about stress and mental health among school principal. So we have a 10 years periods of between 20 years, 2014 to 2000. So we collect all that articles and then we analyze. So we're able to come up with what is actually the thing that, for example, What are the stress symptoms? When they are facing stress, what are the activities they engage to release their stress? Who are facing more stress? Is it a novice principal or a senior principal? Either it's male or female principal have more stress. So we combine all of this. We're using, you have to understand, uh, okay, 2014 to 2034, even though it's 38 article, but we are using Prisma statement. And another thing, you have to use Prisma SCL checklist. So Prisma statement, this is part by Professor Lokman, and Prisma SCL checklist is the part that I the role that I participate in the study. So what is SCR? Meaning that is the scoping review. The scoping review, they have a different checklist, which is Prisma SCR. So sometimes when you're doing review, a lot of the students, they mislook when they are using scoping review, they are still using Prisma. So Prisma assessment and Prisma SCS checklist is a two different thing. Okay, this is basically the second paper. Okay, this is Prof. Lokman. This is Dr. Muhammad Azam. Dr. Muhammad Azam is from Sharp, and this is me. And this is another one. Okay, so what's the issue at the time is that metaverse had emerged as one of the popular technology. However, what is the acceptance of metaverse is still unknown. So that's the issue. And the second one is that during the time, this is the transition where we have smart PLS. So smart PLS start to have its covariance algorithm. Before this, smart PLS is mostly partial least square. And then at this moment, the smart PLS already have its covariance algorithms or covariance module. So we are testing that module. So what's the contribution of this article is that we are showing that practically the covariance-based structural equation model can be what I call it, performed, can be executed by using smart PLS. And here we we are looking at the mediation and the mediation effect, how certain variable mediates. And this mediations is actually the resource gap. So where we have one of the developments that in technology as the model, attitude to technology are no longer impactful. But from my experience, that's the important why you have to conduct the study. From my experience when I conduct the study, I found out that actually the attitude to a technology will be playing effect towards latest technology. So if it's a very common technology that everyone had used before this, so the attitude to a technology will not have any mediation effect. But if it's new technology, this is most likely that it's going to have a mediation effect. So this is meaning that from the original technology system model, they propose attitude to a technology. Then for the past 10 years, researchers, especially in top journals, start to eliminate attitude to a technology because it's not really playing any significant mediation role. And then after that, the newest research find out that this is actually start to playing role again. It might be you have to understand, you have to make some inference. It might be due to the technology is not very familiar. For example, metaverse, not everyone familiar with metaverse, or maybe we are having a different kind of sample. So maybe for the past 10 years, they are mostly digital native. And now most of the sample are Gen Z. They might have different preference and they might have different perspective. So understanding Gen Z is also one of the research gap that I had able to identify from well, I got a lot of studies that I had conducted. So again, this is also my paper and Dr. Doshila. And normally, I'm not sure uh, students is what you call it. Maybe it's third time for students to understand this is a gap because maybe you are still a novice researcher. So it's okay if you try to submit your paper to high impact journal, it been rejected is one of the learning process. So for my experience, I accumulate the knowledge for 7 years, and after that I submit it for the first time, and it been accepted. So I took 7 years. So it took time for you to understand all the research gap and everything that related to your field. You have it's some time to build the expertise. Okay, any questions? Basically, this is first understand what is actually the research gap. It took time, it took a lot of years. It took maybe up to 10 years to understand the field. And then polish your statistical analysis capability. So if you once after this you become lecturers, so you have to conduct the analysis by yourself. Don't ask your student, because if you ask your student, the student will, what I call it, the skill will be with students, not with you. So you conduct your own research, you have the skill, and you can test or what I call it, check the student analysis to make sure that there's no any mistake, so there will be no issue in the Viva session. Understand the field, understand the statistical analysis, use a very good instrument, a very good measure, and you have to understand how your article or your research going to contribute to the body of knowledge, how it's going to add or expand knowledge is a very important parameter being considered by editor to either accept or reject or consider your article. Okay, any question? Okay, I believe there's no question. Okay, use AI. I personally, I don't really believe AI. So you can use AI just to, for example, how you can use AI. For example, you want to find what is the popular theory about your field. You can ask AI to, what I got, to suggest possible theory. Meaning that before you use AI, you have to know, maybe you have 5 theories in your mind that you ask AI for suggestion or for recommendation, and then you evaluate the what I call the information given by the AI. But using AI to polish, before this, I saw one paper being published, and the author make a declarations that they upload the whole paper to ChatGPT to check for writings, the grammars, and what I call it, sentence ID delivery. And it's been accepted at the moment. But the recent issue is that there's a lot of what I call it, AI detector. So the AI detector, I'm also not sure either the AI detector is really reliable or not. But they detect a lot of AI, even you try to polish your language. So maybe the best way is that, okay, sorry, again, another thing. Thank you for the question. To able to publish in high impact journal, you must master or understand, able to communicate in English at maybe not excellence, but at least at some very sufficient level for a scholarly level. So learning English is also important because we have to publish our journal, our paper in English. Okay, so for the question, use AI. For now, I didn't really recommend it, but previously I had saw some scholars did it. But for now, when the AI detectors is not really stable, I highly didn't recommend it because also a lot of my colleagues saying that their articles being flagged by AI detector just because of the grammar. So for now, not really recommended. might not sure, maybe a next couple of years after this, maybe it will become better. So my suggestion, better to seek for human, what I call it, human editor. So human editor to help us with, because I have experience where we publish our article, then they say that this journal, the language need to be in American English. So we are living in Malaysia, and mostly of our English are UK English. So we not really, because they have different way of delivery idea, how they deliver the idea, how I call it, the linguistic art is quite different. So we have to seek professional editor to make to proofread our article. So it's better to seek for human proofreader. Okay, any question? Any more question? Okay, if there's no questions, feel free to, what I call it, to fill in the attendance. That's all. Okay. Okay. See you again, maybe in the future. Okay, thank you for listening. Okay, bye.